still want to be able to say it as precisely and concisely as possible, because that's what poetry is, preciseness and conciseness. I recently heard a successful poet speak, and she said that if we didn't know what kind of poetry we wrote, that we couldn't know who our audience was. Did we write love poems, poems about nature, humor, tragedy, that kind of thing? I almost spoke up and told her I must be a multiple personality, a Sybil, because not only do I not have a specific genre of poetry, but I don't want it. It seems somehow limiting to me. I say write what you want. If it's good enough, the market will come. If not, well, dream and they will come. But at least you've written something that's satisfying to you, and that's the important thing. And as you may have noticed, the writing market kind of stinks right now, not just because of the economy, but because so many people are writing and submitting to the limited number of magazines, and they are backlogged with fiction, poetry, whatever. So unless you write nonfiction pieces geared towards specialty magazines or local papers, you're going to have a tough sell. And it's one of the reasons why I do enter contests, is because even if you don't actually win a first place, most of them have some level of different placement, and it's very encouraging and reaffirming to your talent that you are even noticed. Last year in the National Federation contest, I sent out 32 poems, and I finally got a letter back with two of my poems, and it had citation written on there. And I thought, well, this can't be right. I sent out 32 poems, and I mean, surely there must be some mistake. I must have at least placed third or fourth or fifth or something. I mean, how could I just have a citation with 32 poems out? And I actually wrote the whoever was in charge of this stuff, and because I haven't ever entered these contests before, and I thought, well, is there something else coming? So anyway, I emailed her, and she told me there had been over 10,000 entries in the contest. And the fact that I had even had 2 citations out of all of those entries was a very positive thing, and it gave me a whole new perspective on what winning is about, because just because you think you're good doesn't mean anybody else is going to think you're good. How dare they? So, okay, now for a total change of subject, that's all I'm going to say about poetry. Again, there are books you can look at that can help you a lot more than I can. I can only say that poetry can be a lot of fun to write. If you even want to, it can even help you structure your short stories and your books, because the concentration and focus it takes to write a poem can serve you in other ways. It's good practice just to write even a short poem of any kind. So, for a total change of subject, Cindy mentioned that I've written a book, Out of the Wreckage, the Pop Stories, and fortunately I write a lot better than I speak, although some people have told me I write the way I speak, which I think was a compliment, at least it sounded like that. But anyway, the book I have was published POD, or print on demand, and I want to talk just a little bit about that. How am I doing for time? Okay. Well, I wasn't sure how much time I was going to have, so. Anyway, the book industry has not changed the way it has published books for, well, since never, really. They're still largely not on computers. They don't have them digitized or anything like that. What a publisher does is they print up a bunch of books, they send them to a bookstore, they don't advertise them, they don't publish, promote them, they don't have their authors go out and do anything. So they market the books with no publicity, and then they don't sell, so then the bookstores send them back, so then the publishers have all of these books sitting around that they have spent money on that they've just completely wasted paper and time and everything else. They also have to compete with Kindle and everything that's being published on the internet now. They have to compete with audiobooks and books borrowed from the library. which means that for most riders, it's become harder and harder to find an agent.